You've been there before, haven't you? The moment when someone pulls away from you, and your first instinct is to either block them or beg them to stay. It feels like the only thing left to do, doesn't it? To either cut them off completely or do whatever it takes to make them come back. But let me tell you something most men fail to understand until it's too late. Begging and blocking will never bring them back. What you don't realize in that moment of panic is that those actions only push them further away. Blocking them is an act of anger and fear. Begging for their attention is an act of desperation. Neither of these will make them respect you, and neither will make them fall in love with you again. So, what do? Here's the real secret. Don't block them. Don't beg. Just do something completely different. The kind of thing that shifts the power dynamic. The kind of thing that will make them realize, on their own, that they've made a huge mistake. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. In this video, we'll break down exactly what you need to do when someone pulls away from you, without blocking, without begging, and without losing your dignity. This is the one move that, if done right, can completely change the dynamic and make them come back to you on their own terms. Stay tuned, because this is going to be a game changer. Number 1, embrace the silence. Let it speak for you. When someone pulls away from you, emotionally or physically, your first instinct is usually to chase. You want to fix things, explain your side, ask for clarity, or beg them to reconsider. But reacting that way only feeds their sense of control. What they expect is your desperation. And when you fall into that predictable pattern, they begin to feel even more powerful. But here's the real shift. Instead of reaching out, you go silent. You don't block, you don't beg, you don't even defend yourself. You just become quiet. This silence isn't weakness. It's the ultimate form of self-respect. Because in that silence, something powerful happens. They're left alone with the echo of your absence. They start to question, to wonder. Why didn't they react? Why aren't they chasing me? Were they stronger than I thought? These are the questions that begin to haunt someone who took you for granted. Silence creates space, not just for them to think, but for you to heal. It shifts the dynamic from emotional chaos to dignified distance, and most importantly, it allows the truth to surface. People who truly care will feel your absence deeply. They'll start to miss your presence, your energy, your attention. But those who were only around for convenience will simply fade away, and that's a blessing. Silence becomes your filter. It separates those who were meant to stay from those who never intended to. It also gives you back your power. You're no longer begging for answers. You're letting the situation reveal itself naturally, and through that, you grow. True silence is never empty. It speaks volumes. Every hour you don't text, you're sending a message. I know my worth. You're teaching them how to treat you, not through words, but through restraint. You're not punishing them, you're protecting your peace. You're choosing emotional discipline over emotional chaos. And that silence, believe it or not, is what they remember most. It lingers longer than any long message, any fight, any breakdown. Because when someone expects noise and gets calm instead, they start to feel unsettled. And in that space of silence, they realize they didn't lose someone weak. They lost someone who mastered their emotions and refused to beg for what should have been given freely. Number 2, stop explaining yourself. let them misunderstand you. One of the hardest lessons in relationships is learning to stop over-explaining yourself to people who have already made up their minds. When someone pulls away or starts treating you differently, your first instinct may be to defend yourself, to explain why you reacted a certain way, or to prove your worth to them. But here's the brutal truth. If someone truly wanted to understand you, they would make the effort without you having to beg for it. People only hear what they want to hear. So every time you try to explain your heart to someone committed to misunderstanding it, you're not repairing the connection, you're draining your energy. And worse, you're handing them power over your emotional state. The strongest move you can make is to stop talking and start observing. You don't need to explain your silence, your pain, or your decisions. Let them think what they want. Let them create their own narrative. Because the people who truly see you, the ones who genuinely value your presence, they will never need a detailed explanation just to care. And the ones who disappear the moment things aren't easy, they were never really there for you in the first place. When you stop over-explaining, you stop begging for understanding, and in doing that, you build an unshakable foundation of self-worth. You no longer need their validation to feel at peace. What many don't realize is that explaining yourself over and over again is a subtle form of self-abandonment. You're teaching yourself that your voice doesn't matter unless it's accepted. But when you decide that you don't need to be understood to be okay, you break free from that mental prison. You begin to live on your own terms, and ironically, that's when people start paying attention. When you go quiet instead of defensive, when you let them think whatever they want instead of arguing, your silence becomes a statement. It says, "I don't need you to get it. I need me to stay grounded." Let them misunderstand your peace as arrogance. Let them interpret your silence as indifference. It's not your job to correct every false narrative. Your responsibility is to protect your soul, your time, your emotional space. There's something undeniably powerful about a person who doesn't fight to be understood, but simply continues to grow, thrive, and elevate in silence. That kind of restraint is rare. That kind of self-respect is unforgettable. And those who once misunderstood you will eventually wonder how they ever doubted your worth in the first place. Number 3. Focus on your energy. Shift from desperation to direction. When someone pulls away from you or starts acting distant, it's easy to fall into a state of emotional chaos. You start obsessing over what went wrong, what you could have done differently, and how to win them back. But the longer you stay stuck in that loop, the more power you hand over to them, and the further you drift from yourself. Instead of pouring your energy into someone who's unsure about you, pour it back into yourself. Desperation is a heavy energy. It pushes people away. Direction, on the other hand, pulls you towards something greater. When you stop trying to fix them and start fixing your focus, everything changes. Shift your energy from anxiety to action. Reclaim your time. Rebuild your routines. Focus on your health, your goals, your passion, your purpose. Because here's the truth. Your presence in their life should never have been your only source of fulfillment. You existed before them, and you will thrive without them. The more you invest in yourself, the more magnetic you become, not just to them, but to the world. People can feel when someone is desperate. It shows in your eyes, in your words, in your posture. But when you're grounded in your own direction, you radiate a calm confidence that's impossible to fake. And it's in that moment, when your energy shifts, that people notice. Not when you post something just to get their attention, not when you try to make them jealous, but when you genuinely stop focusing on them and start pouring all of that attention into your own life. That's when they feel it. The silence becomes louder. The gap becomes real. Because you're no longer energetically chasing them. You're moving forward without bitterness, without begging, and without explanations. You're not waiting by the phone. You're working on yourself. And that shift is powerful. This is the moment where you stop reacting and start becoming. You stop asking questions like, why did they leave? And start asking, who am I becoming now that they're gone? That single shift changes everything. The energy you once gave them now fuels your own growth. Your healing no longer depends on their return. Your value is no longer defined by their recognition. You become the one who decides where your life goes next, not them. And ironically, when you stop needing them, that's when they often return. Not because you chased, but because you stopped. You gave them space to miss the version of you who found strength in silence and direction in rejection. Number 4, let time do the talking. Healing happens in the background. In the heat of emotional rejection or abandonment, we often think that time is our enemy. We want resolution now. We want answers, closure, reactions. But the truth is, time is your most powerful ally. Because while emotions are loud in the moment, they always settle with distance. You may not see it immediately, but while you're silent, still and focused inward, time is already working in your favor. It's doing something that no amount of begging or reasoning could ever do. It's forcing them to sit with the reality of your absence. It's slowly replacing the comfort of your presence with a haunting question. Did I make a mistake? Time exposes everything. It reveals the ones who were only with you for convenience and the ones who genuinely felt your presence. As the days pass and you don't show up in their inbox, their feed, or their world, they begin to feel the void. At first, they may feel relief. They may think, good, I needed space. But space isn't always comfortable when it's filled with silence. Eventually, they realize you're not just temporarily gone. You've shifted. You're not playing a game. You're not fishing for attention. You've genuinely stopped trying. And that realization hits harder than any text you could have sent. Meanwhile, as they process that, something beautiful is happening on your side. You're healing. You're no longer waking up hoping they'll call. You're no longer scrolling through your chats or rereading old messages. Slowly but surely, you're building new habits, discovering new joys, and reconnecting with the version of you that existed before the pain. You're learning to live without the emotional weight they once placed on your shoulders. Time isn't just helping them realize what they lost. It's helping you remember what you deserve. The best part? Time does all this quietly. There's no announcement, no big moment. But one day they'll feel an urge to check on you, and you won't be there. Not emotionally, not energetically. Because time has already moved you forward. And even if they come back, they'll be meeting someone stronger, wiser, more grounded. Someone who doesn't respond out of longing, but out of clarity. Let time speak on your behalf. It whispers the truths in ways your words never could. Number 5. Know your worth You're not a backup option. One of the most damaging mindsets in relationships is thinking you need to earn someone's love, respect, or attention. Too often, we convince ourselves that we're only worthy if we're constantly proving it. And when someone pulls away or begins to treat us poorly, we fall into the trap of thinking it's because we haven't done enough. This mindset keeps us stuck in a cycle of insecurity, trying to prove ourselves to someone who may not even value us the way we deserve. Here's the truth you need to internalize. You are not a backup option. You are not someone who should have to compete for affection, attention, or respect. Your worth is not determined by how much someone gives you, but by how much you know you deserve. And the moment you realize that, you start to change the game. When you stop begging for attention and start recognizing your own value, everything shifts. You stop questioning your worth because of someone else's behavior. You stop thinking you need to change yourself to fit into their life. You become the kind of person who knows what they deserve and isn't afraid to walk away if it isn't given. When you understand your own worth, you never beg, you never plead, and you never settle for being anyone's second choice. You stop making excuses for people who treat you as an option instead of a priority. The moment you stop seeking validation from others is the moment you start attracting the right kind of energy. People who respect you will notice. People who value you will recognize your strength and act accordingly. This doesn't mean that you become cold or indifferent. It means you are secure enough in your own self-worth to not tolerate disrespect. It means that you understand that love is not a commodity to be begged for, but a mutual exchange between two people who see each other for who they truly are. And if someone cannot see your value, then they're not worth your time. Period. The truth is, the more you learn to value yourself, the more you attract people who do the same. And when you hold your ground, those who truly care will rise to meet your standards. They will see your worth reflected in your actions. And they'll either show up in your life the right way, or they'll fade out. You are the standard. You are the one who defines what's acceptable in your life. And the moment you realize that your worth is non-negotiable is the moment everything changes. The right people will meet you at your level. Everyone else, they'll fall away, and that's okay. Because the right person will never make you feel like you're just an option. They'll make you feel like a priority every single time. Know your worth, and never settle for less than you deserve. Number 6. Don't chase. Let them earn your attention. One of the biggest mistakes people make when someone starts pulling away is to chase even harder. It feels instinctual. After all, if you care, shouldn't you show it? The problem with this approach, however, is that chasing someone only pushes them further away. It's a desperate energy that signals a lack of self-control and self-respect. When you're constantly pursuing someone who's not giving you the same energy in return, you teach them that you're willing to settle for breadcrumbs. You become someone who is always there, always available, and always eager for their attention. But real attraction, true, lasting attraction, works in the opposite way. It's about giving the other person the space to see your value, to miss you, and to come to you on their own. When you stop chasing, you stop lowering your worth to fit someone else's timeline. The most powerful thing you can do in any relationship is to stop pursuing someone who isn't pursuing you. This doesn't mean you play games or pretend not to care. It simply means you stop making them the center of your universe. You stop waiting for their messages. You stop rearranging your life around them. Instead, you shift your focus back onto yourself. When you stop chasing, you start building a life that is rich, fulfilling, and full of opportunities. You invest in your own growth, your own goals, and your own happiness. And that, ironically, is when people start noticing you more. Because what they see is someone who doesn't need them to feel whole. Someone who's content, independent, and thriving. Here's the truth. When you stop chasing, you give the other person the opportunity to earn your attention. When they realize that you're not going to run after them, they'll have to step up, take responsibility, and put in the effort if they want you. This puts you back in the driver's seat. No longer are you the one scrambling to win them over. Now they're the ones who need to step up to the plate. And here's the thing. If they truly care, they will. But if they don't, then you've learned everything you need to know, and you walk away knowing that you don't settle for anyone who isn't willing to give you the same respect, care, and effort that you give them. It's about creating the space where they can choose to show up. But that's only possible when you stop choosing them first. When you make your life your priority, and when you stop placing someone else's needs above your own, you begin to see the situation clearly. Chasing only weakens your position, but choosing to focus on yourself strengthens your foundation. And if they truly value you, they'll find their way back. But now, you'll be the one with control over whether they stay or go. Number 7. Stand strong. Your silence is your power. Silence is one of the most underestimated tools in the emotional arsenal, yet it's also one of the most powerful. When someone pulls away or begins to emotionally withdraw, the natural reaction is often to fill the silence with words. You want to reach out, make things right, explain yourself, or demand answers. But the reality is that silence speaks louder than any words ever could. When you stop filling the space with your own voice, you let the silence do the heavy lifting. You allow the absence of your energy to make its point. Your silence isn't a sign of weakness or indifference. It's a deliberate, powerful choice that communicates your self-worth, your boundaries, and your refusal to chase after someone who isn't showing up in the way you deserve. The first thing that happens when you embrace the power of silence is that it forces both you and the other person to confront the truth. For you, it's an opportunity to reclaim your peace, to sit with your emotions, and to allow time for healing. For them, it's a chance to sit with their own feelings of loss, confusion, or regret. Silence creates space for reflection. When you stop chasing someone and let the silence linger, you give them the chance to miss you, really miss you. You stop being the person who is always there to respond, always there to fix things. Instead, you become the person who cannot be taken for granted, the person who is too valuable to be ignored. But beyond just letting them reflect, silence also gives you the power to take a step back and regain your emotional footing. You're no longer caught up in the chaos of trying to fix things on someone else's terms. You're not seeking validation or approval from someone who hasn't earned it. You are giving yourself permission to sit in your own strength, to feel your own worth, and to trust that everything you need to move forward is already inside you. In the stillness, you become stronger. In the quiet, you learn to trust yourself more. Silence isn't about waiting passively. It's about actively choosing your own peace and growth over the drama of trying to win someone over. It's also important to understand that your silence doesn't mean you're cold or unfeeling. It's the opposite. It's a testament to your emotional maturity and your respect for yourself. You know that words spoken out of desperation or fear don't hold the same power as actions rooted in self-respect. When you stop filling every silence with explanations, apologies, or pleads, you send a clear message. You won't settle, you won't lower your standards, and you won't be anyone's second choice. The people who truly value you will understand that your silence is not a punishment. It's a redirection of your energy towards self-love and respect. And in time, those who are worthy will show up with the right energy, not because you forced them, but because your silence and strength made them realize what they almost lost. Ultimately, standing strong in your silence is an act of self-empowerment. It is about owning your space and refusing to allow anyone to dictate your emotional state. Your silence is a powerful statement that you're not here to beg, plead, or beg for validation. You're here to be valued, to be respected, and to be loved in the way you deserve. When you learn to embrace silence, you stop giving your energy away to people who don't appreciate it, and you start attracting the kind of love that is based on mutual respect and genuine connection. Now that we've uncovered the real truth behind what to do when someone pulls away, let me leave you with this. Your value is not defined by someone's attention or affection. If they walk away, don't let their absence diminish who you are. Remember, the most powerful thing you can do in any relationship is to remain calm, composed, and focused on your own growth. When you stop begging, stop blocking, and stop chasing, you create a space where you can heal, grow, and focus on becoming the best version of yourself. The right person will recognize your strength, your self-respect, and your ability to remain grounded, even when faced with uncertainty. Understand this: your silence, your emotional independence, and your self-respect are the most attractive things you can offer. The moment you stop trying to control their actions and focus on your own, that's when the power shifts. You become the person who they can't ignore, who they want to come back to, not because you chase them, but because you chose to move forward without them. So, if you're going through this right now, remember, don't block them, don't beg. Instead, be the best version of yourself and watch how everything changes. Relationships aren't about forcing someone to stay. They're about creating an environment where love is mutual and respect is earned. If you found this video helpful, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more life-changing insights. And remember, no matter what happens, keep your head high. You've got this.